Hey, welcome back to SkillTree, and we're back with a review of Necropolis.
I believe it also has a subtitle called A Diabolical Dungeon Delve, which doesn't really matter because it's not even up on the screen, so
yeah,
who
it's
cares?
irrelevant. It's not even on the game screen, so why would we care if it's called that?
Yeah, so I bought this game when it came out because I thought, hey, let's try a review. And this game seemed notable.
And I just want to specify for the audience that, or clarify, whatever, I have seen nothing of this game.
Yeah.
Only you have played it.
Yeah, I've put in a couple hours into this. Ad will be playing you, the viewer, who can also ask questions in real time. And I've written some notes. Let's just get into the game and I'll talk about the game.
Yeah.
You'll notice here that in the top left-hand corner, it has some available slots for friends.
Oh yeah, it does.
This game is very co-optional heavy, which I find weird because it doesn't necessarily seem apparent for that. But we'll get into that a little later. But let's just go ahead.
He kind of looks like that one thing from Final Fantasy, the little blue thing with the hat.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of looks like that, like if he got swole.
Yeah, I really do like the main character, although it's a she.
Same thing.
But you can also be a boy.
It's a very, very minor difference.
Yeah, there's very minor differences. She's got some hips. And you can cycle through different unlockable skins, really, but it's just palette swaps, really. So we'll play the daughter Sea Glass. Okay, so Necropolis it's a little bit Dark Souls meets Binding of Isaac meets Legend of Zelda.
That is a very vague but interesting idea. Oh, wow. It really does kind of look almost Zelda-ish. Look kind of Wind Waker-y.
It does. I kind of like the style to a degree, and I'll get into that in a bit. But basically, it's Dark Souls style, where it's like, you see in the bottom left-hand corner, you have sort of a stamina gauge. So when you do an attack, you have to kind of commit to an animation. And, you know, enemies will telegraph their moves, and you kind of have to use your own movesets to work around that. And you have a basic attack, you have a hard attack, and you have a charged attack, which, while powerful, will permanently deplete your stamina.
Permanently?
Yeah.
Like, how permanent are we talking?
Unless you get an item to replenish it, it's not coming back.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that is... So it's almost treating it like a mixture between a stamina gauge and a magic meter from Zelda. In fact, that move looks almost exactly like the spinning attack from Ocarina of Time.
Also, I want to touch on real quickly, yes, I am using keyboard controls. For whatever reason, I could not get my controller to work, so I'm not going to bash on the controls too much just because this game plays much better on a controller. It's like playing Dark Souls on a keyboard.
I imagine. It doesn't look like a game that lends itself very well to a keyboard, especially not with this kind of, over-the-back perspective.
Yeah. It's okay. It's not great. It's better with a controller, hands down. I will gripe, however, none of these are rebindable. You cannot change any of the key bindings.
You can't change key bindings?
No, none of them.
Is this just a console game? Like, that just seems very strange. And I also didn't know that the perspective was quite like this. This looks like something that I would actually play.
Yeah, it's... At first, like, I thought, hey, this is actually a pretty neat game. And you can see, like, I'm fighting these beginning guys, trying to get them, managing my stamina bar here. And visually, the game, I think, is a little striking in places, because, like, it's got really flat, soft colors. It's got striking brights on darkness. The main character has a really cool design.
It has that kind of almost noir feel, but it still has color.
It reminds me a bit of the style of that game Journey.
Oh, yeah. Journey, that is a game we have to play on the channel at some point.
Mm-hmm. Although I think that game was by and large much more attractive.
Yeah, I would say I don't know, it's kind of like pitting two very different games against each other, I think.
Yeah, it's an unfair comparison. I just think the aesthetic is similar. Okay, this is the crux of the game. Every time you go into the dungeon, it's all procedurally generated. So every time you go into a door, it's a new room that you've not seen before.
I like the idea of that. It's almost like a Zelda that generates itself, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
Does it have, like, puzzles that are procedurally generated?
Not really. It has some traps, but just explaining the basis of the game, it's very roguelite in the sense like in Isaac and Gungeon and other similar games in that whole genre. There's permadeath, and there's some progression that carries over, and that appeals to people in that genre. And one of the things that carry over are these codexes over here. And by equipping one of them, it'll give you a constant passive ability of some kind. I've unlocked 3, which makes it so, like, I don't need to eat. I can eat rotten food, and I can get a whole bunch of recipes right off the bat.
I love the names and quotes with some of these books, like, the first one's like an eating guide. Man, I ain't hungry. I already ate 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, this game is very cheeky. It's very silly. It's a little stark in times, but it's got a lot of humor. However, one issue with these books is it's hard to tell what the fuck any of them do. Like,
I was gonna say that I have about as much idea of what these do as Bad Monkey No Banana from Vampire.
You're it. This is the place. Different on every monster, but if you can hit that place, they stop dead in their tracks like a statue. Pretty useful. I guess that gives an odd chance hit the freeze?
Or maybe like one hit kill?
One pot. Okay. The key to a good defense is a good defense, stupid. So first one, blah, blah. So it's like, does that give us like resistance? It's very hard to tell what a lot of them do. And that's annoying because to unlock these things, you need to get these special tokens, these kind of currencies that they do carry over with death. But getting these things are pretty hard. So you can spend hours trying to unlock something and not know what they do.
I'm struggling to figure out what the actual detriment of dying in this game is.
Well, you have to play the level again. The progress doesn't save over. You have to start right back from the beginning like we're doing now. All equipment you find is gone. And
so you can change equipment.
You can change equipment, and I'll show that off in a minute after I kill these screamer guys. Yeah, and I'm going to be first to say that, like, I'm not the best at this game. Okay, so...
You picked up Torn Flesh.
Yeah. So Screamer Blade, you can pick up a different weapon, and the weapons, like in Dark Souls, handle a little differently. In fact, I believe this charge attack will be slightly different. Yeah. So you do a whole spin the wind kind of attack. And in the game, there's also inventory management and crafting. And because of that codex I had before that gave me a whole bunch of recipes, I have a whole lot of recipes I can choose from. Don't know if I want to use any because there's quite a bit of stuff to find in this game, and figuring out what most of them do, again, is like trial and error. Which, again, appeals to some people, but it can be kind of annoying to just kind of guess at it.
I imagine it can be pretty annoying. I mean, so you can find potions without having to craft them, right?
You can find potions and not even know what the potion is.
Until you take it.
Yeah, until you take it, and it could be something good, it could be something bad, you don't know. And again, that mystery appeals to a lot of people. I enjoy that, honestly. But it can be really annoying, and these guys are kicking my butt really bad, and that's not good. And I died.
Well, yeah, did you step in the fire again? How do you not see it there?
Yeah, the brazen head, the kind of god of this area, he's a bit of a dick. And so we're right back at the thing. We do a new game. So yeah, permadeath.
I guess the objective is to see how many dungeons you can complete in the same life.
Yeah, that's an issue of the game. It's like, what is your motivation? I mean, like, you keep playing, you keep getting these tokens that carry over so that you can unlock codexes, but the codexes aren't really that impactful. They're not necessarily, it's like something really fun or wacky or out there. Like, you know, you play Isaac, you can unlock new items, and they can have all sorts of weird effects, and they can interact with items you've already unlocked. In Gungeon, you can, you know, unlock new guns, obviously, and other new items.
When you respond to my question of how this game works with, well, yeah, the motivation is kind of uncertain, and I'm stuck here like, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, like, I've put a number of hours in this game, and I just felt like, what is compelling me to keep playing? Because getting to the bare bones of it, the combat really does not feel good. It feels really stiff. It's not nearly as well crafted as, you know, the obvious comparison, Dark Souls, although the budgets on the games are clearly much different, so that's not necessarily a fair comparison.
It seems like you can't move while swinging.
You can't. You have to commit to the animation, which is very Dark Soul-esque, but it... I don't know, it's... A lot of enemy hitboxes feel off sometimes. Like, you can be inside someone, they could be inside you. It's really weird. The game has a lot of stability issues, I find sometimes. Like, it'll just sort of drop frames on occasion.
It's probably not optimized well.
The thing is, like, if you were to tell me this game was still in early access, I would have believed it. Because the game does not feel fleshed out.
I guess I don't know 100%, but I mean, is there a way to beat this game? Is this a game where there's an ending?
From what I've been told, there are 9 levels. I've looked it up. There are 9 levels in the whole game, and there's a boss battle, I believe, at the bottom of the game. At the very bottom. In the time I've been playing, I've only ever managed to get to level 4. And it can be really annoying because, like, just going through this first level could take you an hour. These are not short levels because the procedural generation, they could go very, very, very long, or they could be very, very short.
So it seems kind of RNG based.
It's very RNG based on, like, how the level might design itself. And you find chests and they have stuff in them. And you can find magic scrolls, but also you don't know what they do. What's that one do? They're hums with magical power. No idea.
Yeah, didn't explain much.
Like, you could use something and it could give you an effect, but you won't know what the effect does.
It's not very clear about anything, and it seems like the procedural generation, the RNG is so heavy in this game that I guess you're never sure whether the level is going to be reasonable or ridiculous or what.
Yeah. And that's a token of the roguelite genre, like Isaac, like Gungeon, like others. And that appeals to some, it appeals to me, I like it. But in this game, like, this game is not easy. This game can be very hard. You've noticed, like, I've been avoiding quite a lot of enemies. That's because they can gang up on you and just overpower you very fast, especially in the beginning when you don't necessarily have any good equipment.
And so you're telling me that you have to make it through 9 levels, and then there's a boss at the end, but like you can't even afford to wipe on the boss because the game restarts.
Yeah, you'll start right back at the beginning with nothing.
That is pretty crazy to me.
And again, that's, you know, part of the roguelike genre, and that appeals to some and appeals to me, blah, blah, blah. I keep saying that over and over again. But the issue of this game is, you know, the combat doesn't feel very good for a number of reasons. Besides the fact that it feels a little buggy, that the hitboxes don't always seem to connect correctly. Besides the fact that the enemies seem very hard, even in these beginning areas.
Yeah, they don't seem to stagger that much when you hit them, and it takes a long time for you to hit them, and they hit you in the meantime, and they gang up on you, and you can't move while swinging.
It's just a lot of little things where, you know, you might not find any optimal new equipment. You might not find, you know, items to be able to craft resources to regenerate. There's just a lot of little things in there, and overall, in most games, that's normally fine, but given the difficulty of this game, of like how Dark Souls-esque it's trying to be, it can be really frustrating.
I can imagine, because this is, I would venture to say, you know, ignoring the extreme fandom of Dark Souls as being super hard, I would say this is much harder than Dark Souls because it is so much less forgiving.
The thing with Dark Souls that separates this, and much of that's just Dark Souls just has a lot more put into it, and I don't mean to say that in this game's detriment, it's just a matter of the production. It's Dark Souls combat is very well fleshed out. There is a ton of weapons in the game, very drastically different weapons. And the enemies are very well designed, and they telegraph their attacks in a very interesting way. Here, the enemies do telegraph their attacks, but sometimes they don't. Like, sometimes they'll just, like, instantly ignore their animation and just attack.
Well, you're fighting like 2 Roman Centurion General Grievuses here. Holy shit. Oh my god.
Yeah,
These
honestly,
things are like...
These guys are the most interesting enemies in the game, I found.
I was gonna say, like, these guys are a step up from the General Mooks, and they are much more threatening than them.
Yeah, and they're a good example of, like, getting their patterns down and countering around them. But it depends. It depends on, like, if the game wants to really kind of follow in line with, yeah, we're going to do the animation. And it's more prevalent on the weaker enemies than the stronger enemies, so that's more forgiving, but it's still not good.
Yeah, it's still not acceptable no matter what.
Oh, what else? What else? The camera leaves a little to be desired. I've had issues where it's clipped through the wall, but it's also like focused way too close on you. And if you're completely surrounded by enemies, it can get really bad.
It's unfortunate that it has so many issues, because it actually looks pretty appealing.
It does. I feel like this game has a lot of potential. It's just not there. Craft some recipes. You know, it's like I said, that like I feel like this game is still in early access.
It kind of seems like it is. I mean, this might be one of those cases where this game should have been developed longer.
I say it should. And what's particularly annoying, at least for me, because I did buy the game, this game is $30 on Steam right now. Most roguelites that are coming out are roughly half that. Like, you could go buy Enter the Gungeon and Isaac, which are better games, in my opinion, for the same price. You could buy both of those games for the same price as this game.
That is a problem, but I don't know, the 3D graphics might have something to do with that.
That's true. It is 3D. It is trying something new, which is nice. Doing a roguelite kind of dungeon crawler with a Dark Souls style of combat. So I can't fault it too much on trying something different.
It seems like this game almost does something really revolutionary.
It's almost there. It's just not there. And yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of like this is actually a little bit too cruel of a comparison, in my opinion, but it's kind of like Assassin's Creed 1.
Why? Because like Assassin's Creed 1, like, it could have used a little more.
Yeah, Assassin's Creed 1 was an example of a game that was really hyped and was a really, really cool idea. I know it's like Assassin's Creed is like more played out than Call of Duty at this point, but back then it was such a cool idea. And it was fucking cool, and then you got Assassin's Creed, and then it was fucking absolute trash, and you're like, great, they just failed. They just failed. But then Assassin's Creed 2 came out, and it, like, single-handedly redeemed the series. I mean, if Assassin's Creed 2 hadn't been what it was, the series would have just ended. So, you know, maybe this game will be the Assassin's Creed 1 of Necropolis 2.
Maybe. We'll see, like, if, you know, they get a sequel. I thought that would have restored my health, but no, it just seems to have powered me up. Cool.
Yeah, so now you can be stronger when you die. Oh, man. I like the glowing effect. Looks very Wind Waker-y.
Yeah, it's got a Wind Waker-y kind of stylized, you know, armor and flat colors and everything, and it's nice. However, I will say that the environments are boring as shit.
Yeah, it's all just gray, like, not really textured very well.
And because, like, the game is procedurally generated, it's very easy to get lost, especially during these extremely long, large maps. You can craft an item called chalk, which lets you mark the ground so that you can, you know, remember where you've been. But you're not guaranteed to find the resources to make chalk.
Yeah, because it's all procedurally generated. That's the drawback of procedural generation RNG, is that sometimes things are not fair, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it feels like bullshit because, you know, it is unfair.
And it's just also, the chalk isn't that helpful. A map would be helpful. I really don't see a reason why map couldn't be at least a craftable item. Most procedurally generated games still let you have a map.
Helps to have a map. Who knows? Maybe one day they'll add it in a patch or something.
Maybe. And I found a new weapon. It is Dunn's Bashing Stick, Tier 1. There is a tier system of items in this game. You start out with, like, Tier 0 equipment. Oh, this guy's gonna explode.
Oh, I didn't know they exploded.
Yeah, those guys do. So, yeah, there's a tier system, but besides the fact that, like, something's a higher or lower tier to something, you don't know if they do anything else. It doesn't give you any description on, like, damages or speed or even what type of weapon it is.
Yeah, it seems like they're really just sort of not showing any stats in the game at all. Like this, it's very strange. It's like an RPG, but with no numbers, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
And again, in roguelites, that's common, but I don't think it appeals well for this game.
Well, yeah, no, because this game has a lot of RPG elements, and then you have these RPG elements like, here, make this potion, but you have no fucking idea what it does. That doesn't really help.
And something that's just like such a big issue for me is like the weapons in this game are really boring. Like I found like this mace and that's kind of neat and everything, but there are other hammers and maces in the game and they feel very similar. Like one might have like a little flashy effect or something, but then that's kind of it.
Yeah, that is unfortunate that it doesn't feel like there's a lot of variety, and I can tell already, as interested as I was when you first started the game and with the title screen, which is very nice looking, it seems like it's already gotten kind of played out. It's already kind of like, oh yeah, I know what's gonna happen. You're gonna wander through a gray hallway and beat up enemies.
Yeah, it's just like after you've put like 3 hours into the game, you've pretty much experienced what the game has to offer. All that's left is doing another run, which is part of roguelites, but the only sense of progression that carries over between runs is the codexes. And the codexes are boring.
Yeah, there's nothing interesting to me about collecting books.
Like, the benefits they give you are not substantial, really. Like, one will make me barf less. One will give me some recipes. They don't really drastically change the play style of the game.
And the costumes aren't interesting either. They're just color swaps. And
oh yeah, that's
like,
another thing that will carry over unlocked.
Well, I would hope so, but it's like, who gives a shit? Like the outfit is cool, but if you're gonna have another costume, make it another costume. Like God of War is a great example of how to do costumes. They have like the best costumes in fucking gaming history.
And because everyone's going to make the comparisons, Dark Souls has a ton of very visually striking armor and weapons, and they have different stats and different play styles.
Yeah, it seems like this game... I remember watching I read a review or watched it or something, I don't know. Back in I think it was 12, Darksiders 2 came out for Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
And that game takes a lot of inspiration from Zelda, Dark Souls, Elder Scrolls, Arkham Asylum, Assassin's Creed, stuff like that. And I remember the review that I read or watched, it's been 4 years, guys, said something to the effect of, you know, this game claims to borrow so much or be, you know, inspired by so many different famous mechanics, but it doesn't do any of them well or good enough. And I feel like that's the case with this game. It's like this game is meshing together a bunch of things like Zelda, Dark Souls, but it's not doing them nearly as well as any of those games.
Yeah, and it's a shame because, like, I feel like the potential's there. I feel like the potential in this game is there. It's just like it still feels like an early access title.
Yeah, you know, we're not reviewing like some like trashy cash grab game or anything. Like, this is a game.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a bad game. It doesn't look like, it looks like something you could enjoy, and that it's not like a ripoff or anything. Like, it's $30, yeah, but it seems like you could reasonably ask for that. But you know, it's kind of like one of those 7 out of 10 games. Seems like.
I'm going to refuse to use scores just because I hate the mentality of scores.
Well, score hipsterism aside, I feel like if we gave this a rating, I would say 7 out of 10 is what I would imagine. I mean, of course, I obviously haven't played the game, so who gives a shit about my score, right? But
Mm-hmm.
It seems like one of those sort of games it's good, but it's not anything to write home about. It doesn't do anything well enough that it's that memorable.
It borrows a lot, but it doesn't really excel much at anything. It honestly doesn't do anything new, and the things that it borrows just feel kind of half-hearted.
I think that the best thing about it is the art style. But
Although the
even in that-
environments are pretty bland.
yeah, even in that case, the environments are unacceptably lazy at some points.
Because I mean, like, look at this light effect. That's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah, it looks nice.
You know, this stark, open, kind of arcane floating mausoleum. That's very neat. It's just you go through these dungeons over and over and over and over and over and over again. It all looks the same. You get sick of it.
Yeah, it seems like a very oppressive gray.
Oh, I've not seen this guy before. You are new.
You haven't seen one of those?
Nope. Oh, and he's got a little guy.
That's pretty RNG.
Woo! Come on, good. Whoa.
Whoa.
I don't know. It's just like,
Damn.
if a game hasn't been fun for you within like the first, like, I don't know, 4 hours, maybe it's not fun.
It seems unfortunate. There are a lot of mechanics about this game I just am not particularly a fan of. Like, I really don't like permadeath. You know, outside of joking, like, oh, MLG Pro no scope, I really don't like permadeath. I think it's a stupid mechanic.
But what's really annoying for me, what's really annoying is, like, as hard as this game is as a single player, if you do it co-op, you have free resurrections.
Wait, hold on, what?
Yeah. If, like, as long as, like, one person in the party is still alive, free resurrection.
How does that work?
Like, I think, like, you resurrect but, like, have a little less stamina, but that's it. That's, like, the only cost as far as I know. So,
But, like, can you just press a button and the other person magically appears again?
I think it's probably an item or something you have in your inventory, but, like, it costs nothing.
Can you do it during combat?
Maybe. You can actually do all the items during combat. It's just you're committing to an animation. Like, see how, like, I'm eating?
Yeah.
I can do that during combat. They'll still hit me, though.
Oh, yeah, because you can't really pause.
Yeah, there's no pause in the game. Even, like, during single-player mode, there's no pause in the game. It's designed around drop-in, drop-out co-op, but I don't know. It feels weird that, like, the single-player is really hard, but the co-op is absurdly easy.
I was gonna say, does it affect the number of enemies that spawn?
I don't think it does, because, like, single-player, like, it gets up there.
That is just bad game design, just straightforward. Because,
Like,
you know, it's basically, to put it simply, it's not balanced right.
Not really, because, like, in a lot of roguelites, like Gungeon or Isaac, there are rooms you go into, like, and you feel a little overwhelmed sometimes, but nothing seems unfair. In this game, like, I can go, like, in the first room, and there'll be, like, 24 enemies, and they'll all aggro on me.
Yeah, it's pretty concerning. I mean, I just imagine if you played this with a group of, like, 4 people, you would just annihilate it.
Yeah, because, like, if nothing else, you're giving different places to aggro on. But with free resurrections, it just feels really weird. And I should say that, like, the makers of this game, Harebraned Schemes, they have been pretty much advertising this game as being a co-optional game, not as a single-player game. But I think most people will play it single-player. Not everyone has, like, 2 to 3 to 4 friends to play with.
This is the most unfair shit. I just, like, you were like, oh, there might be 24 enemies, and I'm just watching you, and holy shit, that was, like, so many enemies. It seems like a really cheeky strategy would be to just play with another player, and then just you play the game, and, like, they stay hidden so that they can infinitely revive you.
I don't know if that would work, because I haven't actually tried out the co-op, but from what I've seen and from what I've read and I did do my homework on those guys. It just seems very cheap. I've heard that you could have, someone who's not dead, but like maybe their health is really low, their stamina is really low. So it's more beneficial for them to then die and then be resurrected, because they'll have more base health and stamina then.
It's never a good sign when it's better to die so you can continue. That's never a good sign in a game.
And, you see me like going again, doing a new run, and, the combat's not really enjoyable, the environments aren't really enjoyable, the enemies, the combat. What is my motivation to keep playing? I don't really care about any of the codexes. They're not that interesting. I haven't bothered to go get any in the last couple of runs.
It seems like the only motivation to really play through this game hardcore is to beat that boss. But there's no real reward beyond just completing the game, which some people be like, oh, well, that's the point of playing a game, it's stupid.
Well, the thing is, like, in that case, the base game should be fun.
Yeah, I would say that too. It's like, if your motivation is to just play the game, then the game itself has to be satisfying.
I don't know. I feel like if Harebraned Schemes, if they update the game, if they flesh it out, add more content, do an expansion, do some DLC or something, maybe. We'll see. I don't know what their plans are. I haven't really seen any plans beyond this initial release. I don't know. If you're out there and you're looking for like a roguelike game to scratch that itch, get Isaac and Gungeon. You can get both for the same price right now. If you're just curious about the game, I'd say just wait and see what happens, because right now I honestly wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, from what I've seen so far, I could recommend that maybe wait for a Steam sale or wait for some kind of update. Maybe they'll add a map. Helps to have a map.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it, see what happens, but as it stands right now... Oh, trap.
What the hell? Oh, okay, I thought it was like a giant monster.
No, it was a trap. Yeah, some of the traps are little RNG, although you can see them up there. Ooh.
Whoa! That's a giant monster.
Yeah. Don't think I've seen him before. I'll avoid him. Oh, trap.
You won't avoid that. I'm surprised that didn't one-shot you.
So am I, because, again, this game is pretty hard. But yeah, end of the day, if like you're looking to spend $30, honestly, you can find better places for it. And honestly, $30 for this style of game is asking a bit much.
Yeah, I think the price is a little high. I don't think that... I know I said that I didn't think it was ripping you off. I don't think it's ripping you off, but...
I don't think it's a good value.
Yeah, I don't think that this is like a maximum value for $30. There definitely are other games you could get that would probably be more satisfying.
Honestly, if you have $30 to spend, I'd say save up, double it, and then get Dark Souls 3. It does what this game does 1,000 times better.
Yeah, I would have to agree.
And, as much as, like, Dark Souls is, like, touted up to be very difficult and everything, there's still checkpoints. There's still boss battles.
Dark Souls is an exercise in fair difficulty. A lot of people, they don't seem to understand the difference between fair and unfair difficulty. RNG is not a fair kind of difficulty. It doesn't mean that you can't have RNG in a game. It's just that, if you get RNG that like 20 snakes pop out of the ground and all simultaneously bite and tear you into 30 pieces, that's not fair difficulty.
It depends on like how it's done. A lot of it is like how much control do you have on affecting the outcome. In this game, you have some, but you don't have any control on like how the level gets created. You don't have any control on what will and will not drop. And that has a certain appeal to, you know, a dungeon delving game, a dungeon crawl. But if the game itself isn't really enjoyable, what's the point?
Yeah. I mean, you know, maybe some people, I'm sure some people like games that are just hard, and it doesn't matter why they're hard, as long as they don't make you, like, enraged. Like, any kind of difficulty is good for them. You know, gotta be hardcore and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But
get good.
yeah, get good, scrub. I don't think that that's a very satisfying style of game. I think the whole point of difficulty is that you're supposed to be able to overcome it as intended, no matter how hard it is.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, I will freely admit, like, I am not good at this game. It has been kicking my butt pretty hard. But Dark Souls kicks my butt. Binding of Isaac kicks my butt. Gungeon kicks my butt. But I still have fun.
Yeah, that's an important factor, is like, the game might be hard, but is it satisfying? And if it's not satisfying, then, you know, what's the point? It doesn't really matter if you succeed or not if you don't even enjoy the experience.
Mm-hmm. I think that pretty much covers all my talking points I wanted to talk about. The sound's okay. It's got this neat ambience going on, but it's not really memorable.
Yeah, it's a game, and I don't know. I was actually interested at first, because remember, guys, I hadn't even actually seen gameplay of this in motion. The only thing I had seen of this was a picture
Some
of
screenshots.
Yeah, of the screen that Dan showed me so that he could tell me what he was reviewing.
Also, I just thought that was really neat that, like, you only ever kind of see this in, like, Doom, is sometimes the enemies will fight each other.
That is kind of neat.
I do think that's neat. I do like that. Although I don't know, like, what are the enemy types who are hostile to one another.
That might also be RNG.
It might be, or it might be because I'm just unobservant.
That too. I mean, we've been reviewing this, so... but what I was saying was that when I first saw you boot up this game, I thought, oh, that looks kind of cool. I might actually try that. But as you go on, and as I see more of it, I realized that, you know, it looks kind of appealing at first, but now it just... I'm already bored of it. I haven't even played it.
Like, I was trying to put in as much time as I could into this game, and I just wasn't enjoying it.
You know how sometimes you'll see gameplay footage of a game, and it'll make you, like, super want to play it? This is kind of the opposite of that.
Yeah. I don't know. I wanted this game to be good. It makes me want to play other games, which is
It makes
not...
you want to play. It makes you want to play games that are better at what it's trying to do.
Yeah, there are better roguelite titles out there. There are better Zelda-esque, Dark Soul-esque combat style games out there. You know, I don't know if there are any games out there that combine those, but just having the combination itself isn't enough to carry this game.
Yeah, you have to... If you have that many traits from other games, you still have to do each one of them well.
You know, the game itself should be fun. It should be enjoyable. It should be good. And while I don't think this game is terrible by any means, it doesn't feel finished. It doesn't feel fulfilling. It needs a lot of polish.
Maybe it'll get that. Who knows?
Maybe. So, at the end of the day, I just have to say, it's like, if you're curious about Necropolis, wait on it. see if Harebrained Schemes wants to update it, if they have any future plans, see if it goes on sale. But right now, as it stands at the price point, I cannot recommend this game.
And my opinion doesn't mean much because I haven't really played through it myself. But my opinion on first glance is to agree with Dan. It's not a bad game, it's not a ripoff, but it's not exactly the best way to spend $30 at the moment.
Yeah, so yeah, that's our first game review right here on SkillTree.
Yeah, this is SkillTree signing out. We will see you next time.